Welcome everybody to the first podcast for the Martial Way. As I've been building up to this, I've been telling everybody I was trying to build up about my special guest, and I'm just really excited about this. Along with a lot of other people, have been asking when it's going to happen. So I have Shihan Judd Reid with me. He's no stranger to Kyokushin and in the knockdown world from Australia. Became an Uchi Deshi under Sosai Oyama, a world champion in karate, completed the 100-man kumite, published a book of his time there. He's a much sought after teacher. The list goes on. Welcome, Shihan Judd Reid.
Scott, thank you very much for that nice introduction. I'm not a special person or guest at all. There's a normal guy, and I appreciate your time and contacting me over the years and your support. No, it's great. Mate, I know there's a 12-hour difference between Canada and Thailand. It's nice and early here, but good to talk to you, mate, and thanks for this opportunity to be able to talk to everyone as well.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate it. And I know, again, like a lot of people have been asking for this. I mean, I know your seminars have become super popular. People want to attend them, but this is kind of gives a venue for people just to hear your philosophy and stuff and your better your thoughts around things. So yeah, I'm really, really appreciative of it. Very much.
Oh, great. Yeah,
So,
great.
just for some people who, for the 1% who don't know about you and your background. What about telling it a little bit about how you got started in Australia? I know. I mean, obviously from your book, I've read how you got into martial arts. A story that's kind of common with a lot of people. Some bullying that kind of happened, and then of course the influence of Bruce Lee, and then eventually finding karate that happened to be Kyokushin. Tell us a little bit about that and how that all came to transpire. Don't get it too much. Leave enough for people to read your book still.
Exactly. Can't give too much
Yeah.
information away. I started karate at the age of 12 years of age. Um, I guess like most kids, had a little bit of had a fire in the belly, and I was, I guess, a bit of a cheeky kid as well. And I used to play football and golf and all the team sports, but I just had something that was a little bit different. And I guess it really was the Bruce Lee movies that got me inspired at the start. When I saw Bruce Lee, he was small in frame, and he was always standing up to everybody, and wouldn't let himself to get pushed around. And I was like, wow, this guy, I want to be just like Bruce Lee. And I think a lot of people who started karate in the 80s were definitely inspired by Bruce Lee.
Myself
Um,
included. Yeah.
I- oh, absolutely. So there's a lot of people, a lot of dojos out there at that time who should really be thanking Bruce Lee. But yeah, that was Bruce Lee who got me inspired, and I trained, and as soon as I walked into the dojo, I just felt the atmosphere of the kiais and the discipline and the power of the techniques, and how the teacher was. I don't know, it just really clicked to me,
Yeah. So
and just
who was your first teacher? It was Anne Bradshaw, right?
my very first teacher was actually Anne Bradshaw from Wales.
Yeah.
Um, and then Shihan Eddie Emin was the branch
Yeah.
chief, so that was one of the satellite dojos.
Right.
So she ran that for the first 2 years. So yeah, she was my first teacher for 2 years. And then the dojo closed down after 2 years. And then I had to move elsewhere. And Shihan Eddie Emin's dojo was about 2 hours away by public transport from my house.
Mm.
So I was actually thinking about maybe stopping karate and just going golf, putting all my energy into golf. But it really was because of Anne Bradshaw that I was like, you know what? I love karate. I want to travel 2 hours to Shihan Eddie Emin's dojo. To continue my training. So that's what I did. And it was when I started traveling to Shihan Eddie Emin's dojo, such a long distance, there was a teacher from Japan that was at that dojo called Sensei Wada Michiyake.
Yeah, I
And
wanted to ask you about him because I know he was a huge influence on you as well.
yeah, so that really was it. So imagine that, and I've traveled all these long distances to get to the dojo, and then I'm seeing this Japanese instructor, and he's just amazing. He's doing amazing kicks, his techniques, and his punches, and this was the real life Bruce Lee, but better.
Yeah.
It was just incredible. So as a young kid, you ask, so where's he from? What did he do? And of course, Shihan Eddie Emin said, "Oh, this is Sensei Wada Michiyaki. This is Sensei Wada. He was a private student of Sosai Oyama. He's living student for 3 years." And
Mm.
when he said that kind of like straight away in my head was like, wow. I said, so something like this actually exists.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah.
Possible. It's like something like mysterious myth or something like that. Um, so then as a young kid, so then my passion for karate just went skyrocketed. I was just obsessed. I
Hmm.
was obsessed with going to karate every day. Sensei Wada was like, like my god in some ways. I just looked up to him so much as a young kid. And I think it's important when you're young at that age, 15, 16 years old, and you have young role models around you who are who are good role models, and and they lead you in the right direction. So he really did. And so that really was. I just had in my mindset at that age, 15, 16 years of age. I thought, you know what, I want to be exactly like him, and I want to go to Japan one day and be a Uchi Deshi of Sosai Oyama. And I used to keep a diary, and on the long journey home, on the long journey back home, I would write in a diary after the class with Sensei Wada, and of course Shihan Eddie Emin. They would take the class together. I would say, oh, today I must improve on this. I must do this and this and this. And at the end of what I wrote about the class, I would write, one day I will be an Uchi Deshi of Sosai Oyama. I wrote this every single time, and I write down the bottom us, and I sign it. I'm looking back at it now. It's a pretty obsessed kid, but when they're thinking about that now, and I've still got that diary to this day, and I look at it and I go, wow, that's at 15, 16 years of age, I really knew what I wanted to do, and I would write it down, and I believed in it. And I think because I had that vision and I believed in it so much, I made it happen.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like interesting in some ways. People talk about motivation and things that you should do these days, and I really, at that age, I just knew where I wanted to go, and I made the right steps to make it happen.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah, it was, yeah. So I keep that diary close to me, and I take it to some of my seminars, and I show the guys that this diary I've had it for 30 years, and it's just a message that I like to say, that if you believe in something, write it down, pursue it, and make it happen,
Yeah.
no matter what it is. Yeah.
Great
So
advice.
that's really what. That's really what it was, Scott. It was just a young kid who had a lot of fire in his belly, and things worked out. I guess in Sensei Wada came to Australia, and he was so everything kind of like fell into place. But I also was just so passionate about it,
Yeah.
very passionate about it.
And then, I mean, well, again, people could read about it in the book, but I mean, eventually you did have that dream come true, and you did go to Japan, and you became an Uchideshi under Sosai, and you would meet Wada there again as well, right?
Yes, well, Sensei Wada gave him his recommendation to Sosai,
Hmm.
and so of course when I turned up the very first day to be in Uchideshi, Wada Sensei was they were all there, so that
Hmm.
was just like my dream had come true, so to speak. And well, so yes, I literally I entered the Uchideshi program at the age of 19 years of age, um, and it was full on. I mean, I don't know where to start. It was such a full on experience, such a full on time, and a different time as well. That
Yeah, and honestly, and not to interject here, but again, and not just to push the book, but your book. I mean, when you read it, your life there, it's straight out of a movie. It's like it's scripted. Like it's unbelievable. Your experience there. I mean, yeah, feel free to speak about whatever you want there, but any part of it, it's just it's dramatic. It's colorful. It's like you can really see what you went through there. It's remarkable, absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, I guess what makes them remarkable is just in such an unusual story is that nothing like this, nothing like what my experience in Japan exists these days. Nothing at all.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Um, it just no one's going to give 3 years away of their life to travel to a foreign country, to Japan, to live in a dormitory under a karate master. I mean, first of all, no one can replace Sosai Oyama, so nothing
It
like that
was.
can exist. And just the days that we're living now, it's a fast-paced world. Everyone wants the quick fix. Everyone wants the quick the quick degree. They want to get their A to Z, so to speak, in 5 minutes. But back then, in that was 1990 when I went to Japan. That might as well have been 1960. The dojo, 1964. The dojo had not changed at all during that time.
Hmm.
So it really was the mystical time where a kid would, myself just talking it as a third person, he leaves his country to chase his dream, and he turns up to the dormitory, a long-haired suburban kid, and has his head shaved, and he's thrown into the lion's den, so to speak, where the dormitory is so strict. There's such a hierarchy system to it, like the army, so to speak, where you can't do this, you can't do that. You got to be very observant. You got to be on your toes. You don't know the language. The food is playing havoc on your stomach. It's full on. The training is absolutely intense, but that's fantastic. That's exactly what I was there for. I mean, the training was just absolutely amazing. And to learn underneath Sosai Oyama was just, that's really it's just any person's dream. But it was such a different world. Not knowing the language, and the Japanese are barking orders at me, going, do this, do that. And I just would stand in furadachi like a soldier, just saying, "Us." Just standing us. And I didn't know what they were saying. I was just saying us, and they probably looked at me to say, silly foreigner doesn't even know what he's doing. But I was really just trying to fit in there and do the best I could. But yeah, so I feel fortunate that I'm able to explain that in the book and tell my experiences, because nothing like that exists these days. It's so out of this world that nothing compares to it. So I guess that was a very unique time.
Yeah, and the cast of characters too, and I love that, like they all had the name, like the ranger or the barber or the panther. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing, right? You really painted a good picture for them.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. I mean, there was no disrespect when I called my Japanese senpai or seniors, when I called them nicknames like the Ranger or the Razorback. I mean,
Yeah.
Razorback's a wild pig, but there was no disrespect there. I'm just telling the story how it
Of
was.
course, yeah.
That's how. And when Nick and I communicated and we talked, we were like brothers, and we were like brothers with some of the closest with the Japanese as well. So we had nicknames for everybody. Everyone had a nickname. So yes, I wanted the reader to get a feel of that. I really wanted to be honest and true to what was going on, and say this is how it was. These are the nicknames that they had, and some were great guys and really encouraging, and other guys were just plain out bullies, and that's just how it was. I look back at it now, Scott, and for example, the Ranger, I made him out to be not a nice guy, but I thank him for that now, because he really kept the balance. I mean, if it wasn't in a silly way, if you know what I mean, like
I totally do.
he was the extreme. He was completely extreme where he was tormenting the Japanese and terrible to Nick and I really in some ways. But at the end he came good. I probably didn't touch on that enough in the book actually, but at the end he was supportive. I just kind of left him as the full on bully. But at the same time, I probably eased up on him, because I just there was a little bit of horror there. But overall, I mean, he really kept the balance, and it was just the amount of different characters and people that we had in the dormitory that time. Obviously, Matsui Kansho, he was one of one of the main instructors there. So the people there were just amazing.
Are you still in contact with any of these guys, like, or do you hear like people like the Ranger like, whatever happened to him?
He's still around. Yui Satoshi Senpai. He's still around. He's actually doing his own thing. He's got his own style. He's doing very well. He's an amazing teacher, and a lot of people travel around the world to go and train with him. So it's great to hear that he's still involved. I actually sent sent him a book, and I signed it to himself and Urika, who's Sosai secretary. And I wrote a private letter. I said, listen, there's no hard feelings. I said, I hope I didn't disrespect. This is just how it was. This is my story. I have a lot of respect for Yui Senpai, your husband, and yourself, obviously. I thank you for the great experience in Japan. And I thanked him. And she was okay with it. She said, maybe you should have said this, Judd. So it's all good, Scott. And like I said, we need people like this. We need everyone can't be the same. Everyone has different characters and different qualities. And everyone has different intentions, I guess you can say.
Yeah. And you mentioned Nick earlier. So you guys, you became pretty good friends there, you and Nick Pettas, right?
Yeah, well, we even today we call each other brothers.
That's awesome.
Nick was my junior by one. Nick is absolutely amazing. Nick was my junior by 1 year. He came to the dormitory, an 18-year-old kid. I think he was actually 1 year. Yeah, he was 1 year younger than what I started. And he was a skinny little. He was a scrawny kid. He was like 68 kilos. And he was like, I think I mentioned in the book, like a broomstick, and he was just tiny. And the Nick was just amazing because he had a lot of perseverance. He wasn't like he was especially talented, but he would try and he would try, he would persevere, and he would never give up. And that's the main quality of a person, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is that never stop attitude, keep on going. And he really worked hard, and he went from 70 kilos to 100 kilos in 3 years.
Mm.
And the time he graduated, he was one of the strongest fighters in Japan. He was literally 3 years from going from scrawny kid to 3 years later, he was one of the strongest fighters in Japan, which is absolutely amazing. And that's all credit to himself because he tried so hard, and he just he persevered through so much. And also,
Oh, we're pausing.
he's as a brother, and we were very close because we were only the two foreigners there at the end. Obviously, in the book I talk about one of the foreigners got kicked out of the dormitory, the other one ran away, and people just started vanishing. So there was just Nick and I at the end. So we developed a very close friendship and we had to. Yeah, I mean, it's as I was saying too, Scott, it's such a long time ago. It's 25 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
And sometimes it's only all fresh in my mind now because the book's come out and it's all fresh. But 25 years ago is a hell of a long time, and as I said before, it's a mystical time, just a different time of how the world was at that time.
Yeah, I remember there was a line in the book that really put into perspective how hard the training was. It was something to the effect that like you trained so much that you actually dreamt about training and would wake up exhausted like you had trained.
Yeah, that's right. I remember, getting sleep and dreaming this, and dreaming that I had done morning training.
Yeah.
And morning training was probably one of the toughest, just because morning training was probably one of the toughest, just because it was full on. So you imagine I woke up and I'm like, oh damn, I got to do all that over again. That's good. Yeah.
And what was it like finally meeting Sosai? I mean, that must have been unbelievable too, because I mean, up to that point, he would have been only somebody you had ever heard about at the dojo, seen photos of, but to actually then meet him in person.
Yeah, to finally meet Sosai was just overwhelming. I mean, I had a picture of Sosai up on my wall as a 16, 17-year-old kid. And then to go to Japan and stand in front of him directly, it was just a surreal feeling. But he made me feel so welcome. I remember the first time he came over and he shook my hand with both hands, and of course I went big os, and he said, "Welcome to the Uchi Deshi, and everything's going to be okay." And he just made me feel like a father. He just made me feel welcome, and he smiled at me, and I was just like, wow, this is just an amazing to actually stand here directly in front of him. And then to do classes with him and just do it, but everything's at the start was very surreal, but then because I was training with him regularly and nearly every single day, and seeing him every single morning, it became really like a father figure to me. We would have a morning ceremony at 9:30 every single morning for 3 years, and I mean, this is the amazing man that he was. I mean, he had built really an empire. He had over 10 million members, but every single day he would get up early and he would be at the dojo 7 days a week. He didn't need to do that. He could have easily given the authority to someone else, and he could have come in as he pleased. But no, he led by example. And he would stand in front of us every morning, and he would fill us with ambition and drive and talk about different things in life and about stories, and try to fill us with, you can, if you want to do anything in life, you can do it. Train hard. And he would say things, really quality things. And he would say things like, when you're training, like now for Uchi Deshi, he goes, you don't need to worry about work. You don't need to worry about getting money. You don't need to worry about materialistic things. And he said, all you need to worry about now is training hard and to become the strongest you can be. And he says, but when you are the strongest and you've done well and world champion, he says, everything else will come to you naturally. He goes, now is the time to knuckle down and do it and work hard and grind hard and sweat plenty and train as hard as you can. When you become champion, when you do well, and you start, and that's when everything you see your rewards come naturally back to you. But now is the time for you to put out, and and to say things like that, to really fool you with, that you can do anything kind of thing. He's an amazing man, and to come in day out to the dojo to say these things and little tiny things as well, to tell the Japanese to be kinder to Nick and I. He would say to him, I want you to be kinder to Nick and Judd. They've left their countries and they've traveled far distances here. They're not with their parents. Be nice to them. And he would say that, he would say that quite often. I thought, wow, what an absolute amazing man, and to say these things. And he just knew he was an amazing man of strength, but also such a compassionate person. Such a compassionate man, and you could feel that from him, Scott. And I always say this when I travel around to different countries now, and I talk about Sosai, and I say, you know what? I wish today's leaders would be more like him. I mean, today's leaders are dressed up in a suit, and they're just really businessmen or con men in suits who know how to act, and they're terrible people. Some of the leaders that we have now in the world, they're terrible. They're absolutely shocking. And when you have, and I really wish that today's leaders would be more like Sosai, a person of strength and character, who would say things, but he also would live by the way what he was saying, but also a very compassionate person who was all about, peace and having good friendship, being a good person, being a good person of character to contribute to society. And he would say these things, and I was like, wow, and just mind blowing, just an absolutely incredible person. I can't really talk. I sometimes when I talk about Sosai, I feel like I say too little, and I feel like I don't do any justice. But just an amazing person, incredible person, never to be replaced.
That's amazing, and no, you definitely do it justice. It's even just hearing you, it's very, very inspiring. It's amazing. After you, so I mean, the book finishes. What happens to you though? What after you finish your Uchi Deshi program? Um, Between there and the time that I know you ended up training with Sifu McGinnis, and you fought and became the world champion. That gap there. So what happened from once you left the training program until you started branching off on your own?
Um, well, actually, when I graduated from Japan, I went to Sweden and taught karate all around Sweden for 6 months.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah.
I went to all the main dojos, Shihan Howard Collins, Shihan Brian Fickens, and I went to all the different towns. So I actually went to different places in Sweden and was there for 6 months. And then I returned back to Japan, and I was just living as an outside student, and just going there, 5 days a week, just training there casually, so to speak. And then I stayed in Japan for an extra two more years, and I was just working part-time and training at the Hombu Dojo. But obviously, when Sosai passed away, it was just the feeling at the Hombu Dojo, and a general feeling was just it wasn't the same as when I was in the dojo. There was just something missing, and Sosai not being there at the Hombu Dojo was just it felt empty. So to tell you the truth, Scott, I felt a little bit lost. I felt lost. I didn't know, I didn't have the right direction. I really wanted to move back into the dormitory to be with my Uchi Deshi brothers, but Sosai passed away. I didn't know where to go or what to do, and I was just I was a little bit confused, so to speak. And obviously, living such an exciting time, such an unusual lifestyle in Japan, to returning back to Australia was such a slow pace. So that felt a little bit strange. But what I did was that I worked for different instructors, and I worked in their dojo taking classes for them. I was at Shihan George Collivis's dojo for 10 years. And at that time, I would fight in the ring karates. I would fight in the Australian Nationals, and I would travel around to different tournaments as well. So really, I was just at. I didn't have my own dojo, but I was teaching it at a few different people's dojos at that time. And that was a long period of time. That would have been a period of about 12 years all up, from the age of literally it was 25 and about 10 years. Sorry, from 26 to 36 years of age. At that 10-year time, I was always teaching and taking private lessons, like most instructors do now. But it wasn't until 2006, at the age of 36 years of age, I still had a lot of fire on my belly, and I was doing a lot of kickboxing training, and I had a few kickboxing fights as well. I had that competitive spirit, so I decided to pack up and leave Australia and to go to Thailand to take my training to another level. And I was really going there at the start to train Muay Thai.
Mm.
That was my initial purpose, a reason. But when I got there, I found myself. I entered a school there, a dojo, and they had mixed martial arts. They had karate, kung fu, kickboxing. They had a lot of different things. So I actually started training there, and in a short period of time, I found myself actually teaching teaching the karate side there. So it went from teaching Muay Thai, to training Muay Thai to actually training to teaching Kyokushin again, so to speak. So that's what happened. So I end up staying in Thailand for another 8 years during that time, and I was teaching full time at a school. The school was a great school. People from around the world would come to the school to train, and they would either come for the karate side or the Muay Thai side, because I had a little bit of everything. It was a really good school to train at and to teach at. So that's really what's happening in a nutshell. I hope I didn't confuse you there.
No, no, that was perfect. Yeah. So, and then ultimately you ended up fighting in the World Karate Championship, and you won that. And then what led you to get the crazy idea to do the 100-man kumite?
um, yeah, I was just well, I was 39 years of age when I had 38 or 39 years of age when I'd won the WKO heavyweight division.
Yeah.
And it was probably the strongest time in my life. Everything, I didn't have any injuries. I had a lot of fire in my belly. Had a lot of competitive spirit, so to speak. And it was my best friend Anton Cavka. He said to me, Judd, you've reached the pinnacle of your sports, so to speak, and you've done really well. Why don't you try the 100-man fight? And that's when straight away I turned it down. I said, Anton, no way. I don't want to have anything to do. I said, I don't want to do the 100-man fight. I fought Masaru Akita 2 times.
Yeah.
The 100-man fight. I know what it's all about. He went through hell and back and forth 100 times, and I just saw what he put himself through, and I thought I was realistic with myself. I said, there's no way I can do that. I said, there's no way. I said, it's just too full on. And it really wasn't until he kept saying, Judd, give it a try, give it a try. He goes, you can do it, you can do it. And also my parents had also said, Judd, I heard Anton was talking about the 100-man fight. Why don't you give it a try? And it literally wasn't until about 3 months of them telling me that I could do it that I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And Japan invited me to come over to do the 100-man fight in Osaka.
Hmm.
So once I got that idea in my head, like, right, I'm going to do the 100-man fight. That's when I knuckled down and I trained. That's when I knuckled down, and it was the hardest training and preparation I've ever done in my whole life, Scott. Even harder than preparing for tournaments.
Mm.
It was just, it's something that you really can't prepare for, but you know that you're going to have to commit yourself 100%. You know that you're going to have to get yourself out of the comfort zone as much as possible. You're going to have to train like there's no tomorrow, and that's what I did. I literally I just trained like a crazy man. I would train 6 hours a day in the Thailand heat, and I was just my body would be agate. It would be lactic acid at night. I wasn't able to sleep properly at times because my whole body was just full of lactic acid and sore. But I knew I had to go through that. I knew I had to punish myself as much as possible, so that on the day of the fight, I had done all the right preparation. My body had been shocked. It was well conditioned, but also I think that preparation also gives you the mindset. It gives you that mindset that you know that you've done all the hard work. So you're like, okay, nothing's going to stop me. In your head, you're like, you're right to go.
Mm.
So it was all those things. Just crazy training. I prepared myself, and then on the day of the fight, I didn't have any cloudiness. There was no what ifs. There was just right. I'm here to fight it as if my life depends on it, and that's the spirit that I went in with, Scott. Yeah.
And it was documented, which was absolutely amazing for everybody. Like that documentary has become an inspiration for thousands. Like it's unbelievable. Like that was, I think that was Anton's idea to document it.
Yes. Yes. The DVD turned out fantastic. Anton Cavka, he's just He was my best friend, and he wanted to document it, and he brought the film crew over to film the training, to film the day of the event. He went over, he filmed my family, my mum and my friends, and it turned out really well. And I guess what's nice about it is that it's the story. It's the never give up kind of story where you're against the odds, and it's just gives you that you can achieve anything if you just put your mind to it. So it's for me, it's very humbling to this day, even to get messages from people saying, Judd, that really inspired me. And mums who don't even do karate, mums who message me saying that would really inspire me. Thank you so much. And I really thank them when I get a message from a mum or a person thanking me and saying that inspired them. I'm like, no, thank you. You're my hero. The mums are they're the heroes. They're the ones who inspire us as young kids and pour their love into us. So it's very humbling to get messages like that from people. It turned out really well, and it's just the story, I guess, is a never give up kind of story, and I'm really happy that it's had a positive effect.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Like it was hugely inspirational to me. I can't even tell you how many times I've even watched it, and everybody that I know in my circles. Yeah,
I appreciate that, Scott. Thank you so much. I
yeah.
really appreciate that.
When,
Yeah, thank you.
when's the movie coming out, wrapping it all up?
When's the movie coming? Yeah, well, you know what, Scott? The book is done really well. The book's actually sold to over 40 different countries. It's done amazing. And that again, I'm very humbled and appreciative of everyone's time and effort to read the book. I know books take such a long time compared to the movie where you sit down, it's 55 minutes long, it's done. A book can take hours and hours and hours and weeks and months.
Yeah.
I hope that I hope that maybe who knows, Scott, maybe the Young Lions could be turned into a movie.
It
It's
should
got a
be.
great name.
It really should
It's
be.
got a good story. I'm actually trying to chase it. I'm actually trying to make it happen, Scott. I'm really trying to make it happen. And let's see how it goes. I don't like to say too much until it's done, but I'm hoping, one day, hopefully, just out of more respect to Sosai Oyama.
Hmm.
He's an incredible man. People should know the amazing this story, and he's just an absolutely incredible man. I hope that one day they can get him on the big screen of Hollywood, because there's no one else like Sosai Oyama. And also to tell the Uchi Deshi story at the same time. And of course, it'd be dedicated and to my best friend Anton Cavka, who passed away while writing the book. So my hope, my drive is to do him proud and to do his family proud as well. So so it's a lot of things that are driving me to make it keep on pushing forward.
Yeah,
in both aspects.
I'm sure you will. I mean, you've succeeded in everything else that you put your mind to. So I'm sure this will be just another thing on your checklist to accomplish.
Appreciate that, Scott. Thank you for your words.
You alluded to how things had changed after Sosai had passed away and stuff. And as you know, like Kyokushin has become completely fragmented. There's so many different organizations, and I just wanted to get your thoughts, like. And you don't have to get into anything too specific, but I know you didn't go with IKO or IKO 1. I think you're independent now yourself. What are your thoughts on all these different organizations? And
Yeah. Well, Scott, I think as long as everyone's got the right intentions, that's all that matters. I mean, if everyone's got that, now that Sosai passed, no one can fill his shoes. So I think it was always going to happen. It was always going to go into splinter groups, just because no one can keep a strong organization like that as one person together. It's just impossible to fill Sosai's shoes. So I think that as long as there are different organizations out there, but as long as they have that passion and that drive and what Sosai's vision is, I think that's the most important. Whether and not be money orientated and be just as what Sosai said, train hard. There's no secret to being strong. Just plenty of sweat and train the basics hard. Don't make it complicated. Be a good person. Be good to your students. Give the best opportunity to your students. I think as long as different organizations have that spirit and keep that in mind with everything that they're doing, everything should be fine. So yes, I don't know. It's just yeah, I just think that as long as everyone's got the best intentions for their students and for what they're doing, I think that's the most important. It's I just hope it doesn't get in. I hope that actually we can, even though there are different organizations, I just hope that everyone can work together. I think it's important that we all stick
Mm,
together because now with MMA being huge, I mean, people will just get sick of the politics, so they'll just go down to the MMA school. They say, oh, as they start to get more involved in karate, they'll probably get turned off and go. So I think it's important that we don't bring the students into the politics, keep them away. We don't need politics in our sport. It's amateur. There's no money involved. We just train because we love to train. We want to see people do well. So we've just got to keep it simple like that, and let's stick together as close as we can. Support each other, even though they're different groups. Let's all support each other for tournaments, for camps, for seminars, for things like that.
mhm.
Because we're all Kyokushin. Really, we keep saying Kyokushin is a family. So let's be a family. Let's say that. Let's not, when it comes to time, say no. We can't turn up to that group because we're not part of that organization. Support each other, because if we don't, as I said, we're going to fizzle off. We're going to keep separating, and we're going to it's not going to be strong. As simple as that. But I hope that we just everyone can stick together and work together. Be
Yeah.
friends. Be what Sosai said. You know, create friendship, bondship, and train together hard. That's all it is. And if you have any biffs, biff it out in the dojo.
Exactly.
Keep it simple.
So you're independent now. Do you see yourself joining an organization, or are you just going to remain independent?
Yeah, I'm going to remain independent. I like to work with everybody and everyone, and like that. I
Yeah.
feel for now I'm very happy with how things are. I'm able to travel around the world to different seminars and to be able to teach at different organizations.
Hmm.
So I think if I was with one particular group, I don't think I would be able to do what I'm doing now.
Hmm.
When I travel around to different dojos, I just say I represent Sosai.
Hmm.
I represent Sosai. I hope to teach what he stands for, what he wants, what he expect, and I feel like I do. So that it's just that, Scott. It's just hopefully we can all work together. This all just stick together, and also Kyokushin stick together, but also as martial arts,
Yes.
whether BJJ, whether we're Shotokan, whether we're wrestling, let's all work together. And MMA is mainstream sport now, so we can in some respects we're also Kyokushin. It's MMA, we're mixed martial art as well. So we're competing against the main sport like gridiron and basketball.
Hmm.
So let's always martial artists. Let's really respect each other. I think this is most important, and get along. And
Yeah.
I think that now with the previous fight going as well with Conor McGregor and Mayweather,
Yeah.
everyone knows. And I actually thank them in some ways because it's on everyone's mind.
Yeah.
It's martial arts, and as we can benefit from that, we can say, listen, we do that as well, but we also have some great qualities. We're disciplined, great for the kids, confidence, respect. So do you know where I'm coming from? So this is a golden time for martial artists now. For anyone who's in it, for anyone who's got dojos, we can really, we can benefit from what's going around now. The social media, pictures are being sent,
Hmm.
information can be sent very quickly. Oh, it's fantastic. It's really, it's a great time.
Yeah. And
It's a great time for.
on that note, you're doing a lot of traveling yourself. You're doing a lot of seminars. How are you enjoying that?
I'm having a great time. It's great to be able to. I feel very fortunate to be able to travel to different countries and
Mm.
meet different people, experience their culture. And what's amazing is the spirit of the people. Each dojo has amazing spirit, and it's just and respect for each other. Everyone trains hard, so I'm really enjoying that an opportunity to be able to travel to different dojos, to meet different people, and to train together. The response has been fantastic. This will probably be the last of my travels for a while.
Hmm.
Actually headed to France, to Belgium, to England, and to Wales next
Yeah.
month.
Sensei
Uh,
Terry Pickard. Yeah.
yeah, Sensei Terry's fantastic. My
Yeah.
last seminar is with Terry in Wales. And then next year I got my camp in March. But after that, Scott, I'm actually got intentions to return back to Australia to open up my full-time dojo there. So
Oh, so that's interesting because
yeah,
I had some people wanted to ask questions, and one of them was that somebody was saying, "When's Judd coming back to Australia?"
yeah. Well, I'm actually, yeah, I'll be back very early next year, and my intentions are to open up a full-time dojo. And I've actually the different dojos that I've been traveling around to now. I said, guys, I will have a full-time school going next year. Everyone is welcome to come to Australia. To hopefully, I will also have a live-in area where you can sleep at the
Mm,
dojo, like especially similar to what I did in Japan, but have
hmm.
an area where they can sleep and train. So yeah, that's what I want to do. I really want to go back and just concentrate on my own dojo back in Australia.
That's
Get that
amazing.
happening full time.
And
Yeah.
and you're also, but you're running your own Uchi Deshi camps now. Are those still going?
Yeah, they're still going. I've got one next year from the 4th of March until the 9th of March. It will be a 6-day camp. Yeah, and, they've been fantastic. They've been going now for 2 years. Last year we had 26 people from 8 different countries that came to the camp. It's a full-on camp. I like to give them an experience of how I experienced in,
Yeah.
in Japan, but it's very tight. 6 day training, six full-on 6 days training 3 times a day. We're getting up 6 a.m. or 5:50 or 5:45 a.m. training till the sunset. So yeah, it's full on, but it's also an experience that they will never they won't get anywhere else. It's pretty amazing.
I'm actually looking at doing it myself, so I don't know if
Oh,
my old ass can get through it or not, but
Scott, if I can do it, you can do it. No, you mate, it doesn't matter what age you are, all rank, all styles and grades and age are welcome. I actually had the very first camp I had a 63-year-old man do the camp,
oh
and
yeah.
he had never done martial arts before, but he was a runner. He was a runner,
Mm.
so he was extremely fit, and he was passionate, and he did fantastic. He did magnificent. So yeah, it's built for everybody. It's as long as you go, as long as you come to Thailand and you give it your best. That's all that matters.
Yeah. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on Budo and traditionalism in karate? Do you still think it has a real home there? Is that something that you still emphasize a lot of?
Absolutely, Scott. This is the most important. I always one of my messages is that when I run the seminar, I said that when we come to the dojo, it is a time that you forget about the outside world. You forget about your phone. You forget about what you've been doing during the daytime, chasing messages, fixing up bills. Maybe you had something going on in your life. The dojo is about a place where you go, you forget about the outside world, and you devote yourself to training. You devote yourself, your spirit, and your full attention to training. And it's more the training side is physical and also mentally, but it's also a very spiritual side. And I always put my emphasis on that is that when we train hard, it's about developing the spiritual side of training, is to never give up, and that's where the Budo comes in. It's about
Hmm.
you devoting yourself to training, forgetting about what's going on in the outside world, and really trying to develop yourself. And with all the hard training that we do, we try to carry that on in with us with our normal day lives, so to speak. We don't forget about that. And I think that's the most important thing in our training is because, like I said before, Scott, the fast pace that we live in now, everyone's running around like a madman, and no one's got time to give quality time to themselves. As a
Yeah.
person, as a spiritual person, we're all very spiritual, and at the training aspect, I like to think that is very spiritual, and it's about developing, your character and your fighting spirit, and something inside you that you don't get outside of the gym. So the dojo training is very important,
And
and have that brutal
yeah.
side.
And obviously that will hone you in a certain way inside the dojo. But what about you on a personal side? How has like the training that you endured over all those years, and even as a Uchi Deshi, and how did that shape you outside the dojo in your personal life? The effect of all that training and traditions.
Well, yeah. Well, I like to think that the training that we do, and like I was saying before, reflects on how we live our normal day life. When we have challenges in different things, that we're able to put that training to work, that we're able to persevere,
Hmm.
that we're able to not just spit the dummy and go, bugger that, and walk away from it. No, we will work it out. We will fight our way through it, and we work it out. We all have different challenges every one of us is no life is rosy dory where from morning to night nothing happens. There's always going to be things that challenge us, and life is meant to be challenging. Life is meant to be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, we don't want to get to Z and caught up with ourselves and go, oh, okay, I've done it all.
Yeah.
How boring would that be? It would be a boring existence. So we really need to be tested the whole time. And sometimes I say those things to my head. I'm going, well, this is interesting. When something just gets thrown in, the spanner gets thrown into woodworks. Oh, this will be interesting. How am I going to get out of this one? And I just like to think, okay, take a deep breath and you're like, right, I'll work it out. And we all get through it. And like as people, as human beings, yeah. And I mean, I don't want to preach too much. Is that life is interesting. There is meant to be hurdles. Nothing meant to be easy. And when we come out from the other side of it, we feel like we feel good for it, don't we? We feel like, I'm glad I went through that in some respects. I'm glad I had to go through the hardship, because I'm better for it. I'm better for it now. I am now in this position now because I went through all that hardship. Yeah.
I think that's great. I think we actually need that as humans. I think we do. We need struggle. We need something in our lives to like work hard towards. If not, we just become complacent. We become, I hate to say it, but kind of lazy. When you have, things that you need to overcome, it makes you focus. It makes you, if you have that personality to do that.
Yeah. Like I was saying, to the person who's caught up with himself, who has nothing else to do, or has no goals or challenges in life, or no dreams. I mean, how boring is that? I mean, we want to keep it dreamy. We want to have goals. We want to, have ridiculous things that to try and chase for. Mm-hmm. And why not? Everything that we look around to us is amazing. It's all built by someone or something like that. So
that's right.
Anything is really achievable, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's where the training aspect comes inside. Where when we're injured or we can't do anything, work around it. Do another exercise. Just because you can't punch with your right hand, punch with your left hand. Just because you're torn your left groin muscle and you can't kick anymore, punch then. Or do some other exercise. Don't just think, it's game over, I can't do anything, because it's never game over. There's always a will. If there's a will, there's a way. There's always something we can work on, and we can work around it. We can work around our injuries, and we can work around our difficulties. We can march on through, can't we? We can fight on through.
Yeah, you're paraphrasing a lot that my own sensei, Steve Fogarasi, says a lot. You sound very similar in your philosophy.
I think it's just got to keep it positive. We got to be positive, don't we?
Yeah.
There's no use being negative. That's not going to get us anywhere. Just think positive that we can do it. We can do it. And that's all. That's really what I probably get all this from. Really, is from Sosai Oyama, and also from Shihan Eddie Emin, who would still instill these things through us. And we like to think that we pass it on. We pass that same message on. Just keep positive and keep it going. Keep it going.
And on that note, what are the goals for you coming up?
I'm off to Europe in 3 weeks. I'm really looking forward to going there and to the different countries and meeting all the new guys. And it's going to be an amazing trip. And then, my goal is to return back to Australia early next year and to get a full-time dojo happening.
Yeah.
A full-time dojo, and that's really, I'm going to pump all my energy into that, Scott. I've been busy the last 2 years traveling around to different countries and taking seminars. So now,
so you have so the end goal then is to get the dojo going. And I think, like I said earlier, as successful as you've been in everything else, I'm sure you'll make that a success as well. I really appreciate you taking the time today, though, to talk to me. I know a lot of people are really looking forward to this. It meant a lot to me for you to be my first guest, so I'm really honored. Thank you very much.
No. The honor and pleasure is all mine, Scott. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for putting this together. It's great what you're doing. The martial way and everything that you're doing, you talk from the heart, you write from the heart. Your messages are fantastic. It's very positive.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. And thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak to you. Thank you guys for listening to me. And I hope I get to meet you very soon one day, Scott.
Yeah.
And all the best with your training.
You got to get to Canada.
I know, and please pass on my best regards to Sensei Steve.
I will.
And everyone at the dojo there. It's a small world, isn't it? We all know what we do now through
Yeah.
messages, and yeah,
Yeah, it
it's
really
it's
is.
it's great to talk to you face to face too.
You too. Okay, we'll be in touch. Thanks so much again.
Us.
Us.
Take care. Thank
Take
you,
care.
Scott. Bye,
Bye bye
Scott.
now.
Us. Bye bye. Bye bye.